William Oldroyd directs the new sort of throwback noir dramatic thriller EILEEN. Currently in theaters, as I say this, from Neon, but by the time you hear this, it's probably going to be streaming or on home video. This is the story of a unhappy young woman in Massachusetts who lives with her alcoholic former cop father and works at a local prison. And she sort of just kind of helps out with the prisoners, or I think it's either a prison or it's a boys' reformatory. Looks like a prison, but it's all young guys. So let's just call it that. And she is unhappy in her life. She just goes through the motions every day, caring after her father and bringing him back in when he's out in the street, firing off his service revolver and talking with the people who are trying to get him because he's just in the madness of alcoholism. And one day, dashing blonde Anne Hathaway walks into the prison, a recent Harvard graduate. She's the new prison psychologist who is going to be trying to implement new methods and new ways of dealing with the prisoners and new ways of trying to help reform the boys at the reformatory. A relationship develops. The young woman, I should say who she's played by. It is Thomasin McKenzie, who you may recognize. She was the young star of Last Night in Soho, which was like my favorite movie of the year that came out. New Zealand actress, interestingly enough. She's sort of she's dazzled by Hathaway's presence and the excitement of somebody who's classy and worldly and attractive and all that. And she sort of falls for her from a distance. And as I'm not going to tell you what the whole story is. There is a surprise in this movie. I'm just going to say this is a noir-y film, and it eventually becomes a thriller, and we'll leave it at that. But more of the running time really is a drama of this young woman and her trying to make sure her father stays alive and stays safe in the house where he's just drinking all day and ridiculing her when she comes home. She's trying to get out occasionally and live a life and be a young lady and not just be chained to the home in her hometown. And it's a pretty dreary, it's set around Christmas time, funny enough. So technically, if you're looking for another film to add to the Christmas movie list, it is kind of a Christmas movie. And she's just trying to, live her life and maybe dream one day of getting out of that place. And she sees a potential escape in this Anne Hathaway character. And I'm not going to tell you any more about it than that. This film was good. Very low key. Everybody in it's good. The alcoholic father is portrayed by Shea Whigham, who's somebody who you probably don't know the name, but you do know the face. I always think of him from Boardwalk Empire, but he's been in a million things, million movies, a lot of TV. And there's just like some familiar bit places, but really it's Whigham, McKenzie, and Hathaway are the three people you're going to recognize in this movie. And it feels very accurate to when it's set. I don't recall exactly when this film is set. I want to say it's somewhere in the late-ish 60s. They don't make a big deal of hitting you over the head with it, but just with the clothes and the style and people smoking everywhere in the cars, you kind of figure that that's when it is. And it's just some small place in Massachusetts. And it's coming from New Hampshire, just above Massachusetts, geographically speaking, north of Massachusetts. It is funny, the line that was very funny in the film where Hathaway says, so-and-so seems very angry. And McKenzie says, it's Massachusetts. Everybody here's a little bit angry. Got a laugh out of me. But overall, it's not really a funny film. It's pretty serious, and it goes to a very dark place eventually. And it's just, you don't see that coming. What exactly happens, you don't see coming. And it's very interesting. Some moments of shocking violence, I say, that occur throughout the film. And some of it's, well, I won't say what it is, but occasionally there's somebody in the seat in front of me in the theater, like gasped aloud at some of it because it was just momentary burst of something kind of shocking. But overall, very restrained, leisurely paced, but not in a bad way film. I would have been fine if the film was even longer. But it's good. It's a good one to see in the theater. It won't really, I hate to say this, it won't really lose anything at home. Everything is better in the theater. Everything loses a little something at home. But it really is mostly a film with people talking. So the intimacy of how it's shot and the story won't really be lost on the small screen. But it's really pretty good. So if you can get out to the theater to see this, I would recommend it. But ultimately, it's a perpetual life is going to be at home. So I would recommend, now see the thing about this movie too, I could never remember the title. Got the tickets ahead of time, looked it up, knew what it was, knew I wanted to see it. But every time somebody asked me the name or I had to say the name, I was like, is it called Ellen? Is it Yolanda? It's Laney? I could never remember what the title of this film is. The title of this film is EILEEN.